If you're thinking about selling your home in Knoxville, one of your biggest fears is this: what about if my home sits on the market? Because once a home sits on the market, everything starts to change.
Buyers start wondering if something's wrong. The showings usually start to slow down, and the sellers immediately lose out on all that leverage that they had right at the beginning. And I can prove this 1.5 million times over by the amount of times that I go show a listing that's been sitting for 40 to 60 days, and the very first question, period, from the buyer is, what's wrong with the house?
And we get those phone calls. We have seen 123 Banana Street and it shows 102 days on market. Can you call that agent and ask what's going on?
And I can guarantee you, most of the agents are gonna say this very exact line: we priced too high. Because that's most of the time the response that I get, right? Because the sellers are wanting to do I don't know why they think this through, but they want to put it as high as they think they can have it to start negotiating down from there. And that truly is a detriment to, like we talked about earlier, your leverage and the ability to sell the home in a quick time frame.
In this video, we're going to talk about pricing, strategy, presentation, and how you can sell your home without spending 102 days on market.
So the goal is not to price high and hope. The goal is to price strategically so you have the absolute strongest interest when it comes to actually purchasing the home from the buyer's perspective.
So the second reason is presentation. And this is a big one because lots of sellers don't see their home the way buyers do.
Because you got to think about it this way, right? When you're selling a home, you've lived in the home, you've seen the home, you've valued the home in a different way than somebody else who's coming in and having a vision of what that house is going to be, right? Because when you sell it on a this house was, and the people coming in are buying it in a view of this house will be, right? So that's something very, very important that you got to keep in mind.
And we are all guilty. I was a home seller, first time home seller, and my home was so dear to me that even though I was already a real estate agent, I had that feeling my home is the best. Therefore, I want to list it for the highest in the neighborhood. And it doesn't work that way.
And I know a lot of people think that maybe outdated paint, maybe a little bit of poor lighting, some deferred maintenance, clutter, weak photos where there's things just kind of laying around everywhere, and a lack of curb appeal, all those things seem pretty small. But together, when you look at it all in one big package, they really change a buyer's view on the house the moment they even drive up to see the for sale sign.
And like Christian was saying, buyers see your home in a different way and they're making decisions pretty fast. They're scrolling on that phone and they're making a decision if they should or not go see your house.
Because you gotta think the way social media works, when it comes to TikTok, when it comes to Instagram, when it comes to Facebook, when it comes to Zillow, all of these things are such instant access to the house. It's nothing like it was 20, 30 years ago when you had to 100% plan out a Saturday or a Sunday to go look at houses to even have the opportunity. Now you're just looking at it as if it were a Tinder match and you say no thanks, no thanks, no thanks. And all of that is from the first impression of pictures.
5 seconds.
5 seconds and it's done. And they're gonna look at price. It's gonna be this right here. They're gonna look at the pictures, they're gonna say, I don't like those pictures. How long has it been on the market? When was it built? Bam, out, and that's it.
So if the home doesn't look good online or in person, they're moving on.
And the third reason a home sits on the market is due to a lack of strategy.
You have to understand this. Listing a home is not the same as launching a home well presented.
And a strong sell usually comes from having a plan from the very beginning, knowing exactly what's gonna happen step by step, day by day, and even close to hour by hour, leading up to that push it to set it on the MLS. A strong sale of a home usually comes from a plan that's built right before the home ever goes live.
That includes how the home is positioned, how it is prepared, how it is priced, and how it's presented to the market. And when we say how it's presented to the market, it's how it's presented to the buyers.
All right, now that we talked a little bit about what kind of strategies need to happen, let's break those down and really get into the nitty-gritty of all of those. So when we say how is the home positioned, we're talking about like where within your neighborhood is that home located. Is it close to a street? Is it close to a highway? Are there train tracks behind the house? Is it on a corner lot? Is it in between two gigantic houses and near the tiny house? You know what I mean? We're talking about figuring out where within the market that house needs to sit to really sell as quickly as possible.
And think about when you bought it, you saw the exact same things the new buyer is going to see. So go back those years and think about what were the issues that I potentially saw when I was buying this home, and what were the features this house presented to me that made it attractive. That is going to help you and your real estate agent position that home the very best.
And this is something that comes up all the time. Well, like for instance, this was last year actually, I had a couple of buyers who were wanting to buy a house, but this house was unfortunately positioned right next to a Hardee's that got built like a year previous to that. And that was an immediate reason that my buyer said no, because they thought, and I advised them, that if they were to buy this house 5-10 years down the road, that Hardee's is still gonna be there. They're gonna have the exact same issue that this house is having when they try to sell it.
Now let's talk about how can we prepare that home to hit the market and be successfully on a contract the soonest possible.
And this one, I want you to look me right in the eyeballs. Clean your house, okay? Clean it, give it a deep clean. Actually take a minute, because when people go look at a house, and I know when you looked at your first house to buy it and now you're wanting to sell it, you looked at the dirtiness all around and was like, oh my God. Or at least not this house that you're in because you bought it, but at some point, a house you looked at, you were like, I don't really want to buy this because I cannot envision myself in this house with all of this clutter. So clean your house.
Now, if you don't have time to clean, you hire the right real estate agent and they will help you with all of that. When we're talking about preparation to hit the market, the real estate agent must be 100% involved and invested on your listing. If that is not going to happen, and of course you have to find out before you sign a contract, it is not the right real estate agent for you.
Now, moving on to the next point in the process. How are you pricing the home? And this one is, look, I'm sorry sellers, but this one is 90% of the time on you guys, okay? Because sellers always want to sell their house for more than what it's worth. Hello, that's just basic, right? I want to sell my house for more than what it's worth, but you must have a conversation with yourself, or your real estate agent is going to have this with you, that here are the comparables, right? Because hopefully the real estate agent is bringing comparables. And what I mean by comparables, we have a program that we can look at different houses around the neighborhood. We can expand that scope to be further beyond the neighborhood if we don't find enough houses within that neighborhood. And we're generally seeing if the houses have the same specs, the same size, the same rooms and bathrooms. Is it really fully updated? Is it not updated? And then we're coming up with a price based on that strategy, because that is the kind of strategy that the appraisers use as well when they're coming in and pricing a home, which is really important for you to hit as well.
It is not a good strategy of pricing if the home is worth $400,000 and you want to start $450,000 to see what offers you're gonna get. That's when I call you're fishing the market. You're fishing for a buyer that will take that listing or take that house at $450,000. But it's not the majority. Think about there's only one fish in the whole sea. You have to be very strategic to catch that fish. And putting a $50,000 over asking price is not gonna cut it. That is where most real estate agents and sellers fail.
And this is what causes a house to sit on the market too, because the house is going to sit on the market for 30 days minimum, right? When you've got something positioned over, even if it's 410 in a market where it should be 400, that's still going to sit on the market for significantly longer. Like something that's priced at 390, that's going to get 5 buyers to come in and start maybe even battling over the property, versus 410 where nobody's going to look at it. It's going to sit for 30 days. And now we're looking at seller concessions. We're looking at price reductions. We're looking at paying the other realtor's commission. I mean, there's so many things that are gonna happen to this house that you're gonna end up losing way more than that 10 grand you would have gained if you would have sold it at, or more than that 10 grand you would have lost, excuse me, than if you would have just sold it at 390.
And listen, we're not telling you that this is what's going to happen with every single listing. It goes from positioning first. That's why we put it there, because that's the first thing we are going to be looking at. And if your house is positioned the best in the neighborhood, or is positioned well within a 5-mile radius, of course, we're gonna put it at 425, because then you have that $25,000 leverage of your lot, of your house, of your upgrades. Everything needs to match to be able to price correctly.
And if you're liking the content so far, please make sure to like, subscribe, and tap that bell for notification. We really appreciate it a lot, and it helps the algorithm find the right people to talk to. And the last point is very important as well. How is the house presented to the market? For instance, we love to put a house up a few days early as coming soon to drive some attention. We have a open house Saturday or Sunday, and then we go from there. And that's a pretty basic strategy that realtors have used for years on end because it works.
And like we mentioned at the beginning, this is part of a strategy. This is what's going to happen when we put the listing up. This is what's going to happen when it goes live. This is what's going to happen when we do an open house. This is what's going to happen after we do the open house. And we go week by week on how our experience have shown listings do well and got under contract in the least amount of time. Again, this is a work that you have to do alongside with your real estate agent. And again, if you're not getting that investigation on how to position, how to strategize, how to prepare, and how to present, you need to move on with another real estate agent. So when you interview, ask those questions.
And to be honest with you, the strongest sellers in this market right now are never having to guess, is my home going to sell? How did my home do this week on the market if it even lasted that long? They don't have to answer any of those questions by themselves. The real estate agent is either on them 24/7 saying, hey, this happened, this happened, this happened, this is happening, or they just already know because they communicated that at the beginning of the process and the agent is following through on their communication with the client.
Now let's talk about what happens when the home sits on market.
When a listing sits on the market for a little bit too long, buyers start asking the wrong questions. Why hasn't it sold? What's wrong with the house? What am I missing? And will the sellers reduce the price?
That is a big one, because that is exactly when we see homes 90, 120 days on market. My buyers wants to just, if the home is 400, they want to send an offer for 350. Which if you were to price at the beginning at 375, you were gone long time ago.
And the reason we're saying this so adamantly and over again is because me personally, I have lived through this experience, this exact experience that we're talking about, in person over the last couple of years in real estate. I had a seller wanting to sell a house. They overpriced it for too much. The house didn't sell for 2, 3, 4 months. They took it off the market, and now we're planning a new strategy to do it again.
And now that's when they're gonna listen to the real estate agent.
Right. And on the flip side of that, I've had buyers who have looked at houses that have been sitting on the market for 90 to 120 days, asking the exact questions that I'm asking. And when we do put in an offer on the house, we put in an offer under asking, we put in an offer with full concessions, and we put in an offer with full commission asking. So at the end of the day, if this seller may have just put it, like Hilmar said, at 375 instead of 425, they would have sold it probably at 400, because the buying market right now is still struggling to find homes to buy. They're just being a lot smarter about the homes they're buying. They're asking for inspections, they're asking for concessions, and they're asking for appraisal, right? We're not having these crazy escalation clauses, no appraisal as is, on off-site purchasing. None of that's happening more. Buyers are getting a lot smarter, and you as a seller also need to become significantly smarter on staying in front of that buyer's market.
And your house can be one of those that will attract multiple offers, multiple buyers at the same time. If it is positioned correctly, if it is priced correctly, you can hit that benchmark that everybody wants in this market to have multiple offers. But we have to look, what makes your home special to be able to create that attraction from that many buyers?
And just to give you a real life example of something like this happened just about 2 or 3 weeks from filming this video, and today is, what's today's date? It's Oof, what's today's date? I'm going to pull out my phone for this one, seriously. It's April 20th. Okay, April 20th, 2026, and this happened straight up 2 or 3 weeks ago because I just put my buyers under contract last week. I was looking at a house that was $350,000. I thought to myself, wow, that's a pretty underpriced house. Something must be wrong with it. And my buyers thought the same thing, but we went for it anyway. We went and took a look at it. It was pretty fine. It was actually a beautiful little home. Nothing was wrong with it. And I immediately told my buyers, this agent did a really good job at pricing this home to attract that 2020 buyer's market where there were, 5 or 6 people trying to put an offer on a house. And lo and behold, I'm not joking to you when I tell you this, a week later, that agent called me because I showed another one of her listings. She called me and said, man, remember that last house you guys saw? It sold for $405,000. We're talking about $55,000 over asking because this agent priced it right, did a really good job at checking out the positioning, how is the house going, and it followed the right strategies to make sure that they put their house on the market and sold it quickly and over asking.
And guys, if there is like 3 other homes selling in the same subdivision, even when yours is bigger, different floor plan, you have done updates, still don't feel that you have the leverage of overpricing, because what you're gonna do is just promote the sale of the other 2.
That's
and
right.
Your house will still be on the market.
Absolutely right.
So look at your competition, even if it doesn't sound like competition to you.
And at the end of the day, all of this stuff we're talking about right now generally creates more hesitation rather than urgency for the buyers.
Then the seller starts chasing the market instead of attracting it. And that is, again, going back to the fishing. If you are overpricing your listing, I honestly tell the sellers you're just testing the market. You're not interested in selling your house. You're just testing to see what's going on and what you can get. Nothing to test. If you are ready to sell, if you decided that you're gonna move up, move, downsize, just do it right from beginning so you have a successful sale.
So if you're asking yourself, how the heck do I avoid all of this crazy stuff? Well, it's very incredibly simple.
Price the home correctly from beginning.
Second is to make improvements that actually really help show the home. And honestly, improvements can be as simple as just cleaning your room.
But we can do a whole new video about that. And if you would like to hear about it, just comment us improvements. And the third one is plan the launch, not just the listing date.
Because at the end of the day, the goal is not just to get your home listed. The goal is to sell your house with momentum, protect your negotiating power, and put yourself in the strongest possible position to sell that home.
Now, if you're thinking about selling here in Knoxville and you want a clear game plan before you hit the market, comment the word plan in the comments and we will send you this guide that has all the steps to a successful sale. It was a pleasure to be with you today. We'll see you next time.
Also, it's free. It's totally free. You don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to pay for shipping. It's totally free. It's super cute. It's super pretty. And we did a really good job.
It has pretty much all of the information we just talked about today, so you'll have it in writing.
And make sure to subscribe.